And there is no doubt in my mind that my son died because of his political beliefs, and for no other reason.
Mr. Timmins.
Well, it's about time somebody said it.
I must
too much covering up in this case already.
that you confine yourself to learned counsel's questions.
But they've got to be made to see what happened.
I feel sure that there is no one in this court who does not sympathise with you profoundly over the circumstances of your son's death. But you must be able to disentangle the facts from your own very understandable distress and give us as plain an account as possible of what you actually know and saw yourself. Very well, Mr. Parsons.
Now, as a result of what happened on the picket line, your son received a prison sentence.
Aye, just for defending him, sir. 6 months for assault.
When did you first see him in the prison?
Oh, it was about 2 weeks after that. I got a letter to the Assistant Governor, Major Hawkins, and he said that Davy was refusing to eat or drink, and when I go down and see about it.
Yes. Now, I don't want you to tell us what Major Hawkins said, but as a result of what he said, did you take any particular action? Did you ask to see your son?
Oh, aye. Aye, and they took me down to his cell. It was a terrible place, an old cell in an old prison, damp and that. I mean, it was a disgrace. Anyway, Davy was lying in his bed, see, and he looked pale and sick. And I said to him, well, Davy, what's all this about you no eating? And he said, well,
just
Dad,
a moment, please. Just a moment. Now, what your son said is, strictly speaking, hearsay evidence. However, I will admit as evidence anything that he may have said which has a direct bearing on the circumstances of his death.
But
I have not finished yet. The prison doctor is here charged with manslaughter, and I will admit anything that he may have said that has a direct bearing on that. Now, is that clear?
Yes, my lord.
I'm sure Mr. Parsons will keep you within those boundaries.
I'm obliged to your lordship. Sir, Mr. Timmins, you spoke to your son.
And he said, Dad, he says, they're trying to treat me like an ordinary prisoner, so I'm on a hunger strike for my rights because I'm a political prisoner.
Absolute nonsense. He was in for common assault, for using unlawful violence against others. For what purpose is quite beside the point. And there is no such thing as a political prisoner, at least not in this country.
Well, he was defending his rights as a trade unionist, wasn't he?
Did your son say what extra rights and privileges he was seeking, which prisoners don't normally enjoy?
Yes. He said he wanted his own clothes to wear, and he wanted food brought in from outside, so he wouldn't have to eat that stuff that slop up to the prison. And he said he wanted special visits for union officials.
Yes. And now, Mr. Timmins, did you reply to your son? I mean, in the prison, did you answer him?
Oh, yes. I said to him, no, don't be daft, Davy. I said, get some food in you.
Yes. In fact, you advised him to discontinue his protest.
I did, but he wouldn't listen to me. And then that doctor came in all smooth like, and he says, well, has your father managed to talk some sense into you? And Davy told me he get stuffed. And then he said, don't you think I'm going to give up? And I said to him, what do you mean by that? I said, you can't force that boy to eat because Roy Jenkins has said that.
What did he say to that?
He said, I decide what is best for my patients, Mr. Timmins. That's what he said. No, he was threatening him, because I knew what he meant.
My lord, I do wish you'd try to keep your witness in order, Mr. Parsons.
It is rather difficult, my lord.
Well, perhaps you should try a little harder.
My lord. Say, Mr. Timmins, you say your son was threatened by this doctor.
Yes.
What exactly was the nature of these threats?
The doctor said, I'm going to make damn sure that you don't turn yourself into a martyr.
I'm going to make damn sure you don't turn yourself into a martyr. Those exact words.
Aye.
Yes.
And you said it more than once, too.
And as far as you could judge yourself, did this have any effect on your son?
Well, he was frightened of him, wasn't he? I mean, he was definitely frightened of being force-fed.
Yes. When did you see him again?
Be about 3 weeks after that.
Can you remember the date?
It was the day, well, he died that night, actually. It was about 10 in the morning of the day that he died.
August 6th.
Aye, that's right. They sent a car round for me, you see, and Davy was in the prison hospital, and he looked terrible. I mean, he just looked like an old man. His mouth was all cut here, and he'd lost some of his bottom teeth, and his face was covered in bruises.
Was he still conscious?
Aye, but only just. He said to me, I know I'm going to die, Dad. He says, I haven't got long to go. And then he said that he knew that this would be the last time he would see me.
My Lord, since I am now going to ask this witness what his son said to him as to the cause of these injuries, unless my learned friend wishes to object, I give him the opportunity to do so now. In my submission, this young man had a hopeless expectation of imminent death, and accordingly what he said is admissible as a dying declaration.
Mr. O'Connor, and that seems to be right, surely.
So be it, my lord.
Now, Mr. Timmins, how did your son explain these injuries?
He said he'd been force-fed. He could just whisper. He said he had fought to resist, but the doctor was too strong for him. And he said he knew he was going to die, and he was glad. He said to me, he said, I'm willing to die for the cause of freedom so that my life might pave the way to a better understanding. And then he said, I want others to live in peace and love. And I never seen him again till after he was dead.
Yes. Now, I want you to be very careful how you answer this. On that visit, how did his mental state appear to you?
He was fine.
Clear and rational?
Oh, I was fully conscious. I mean, he wasn't delirious or anything. He just knew he was going to die.
Yes. And when did you see him again?
Major Hawkins came round the next morning, you see, and told me he had died during the night. And I went to the prison mortuary, and he was just like something out of concentration camp.
Yes, Mr. Timmins, I'm sorry to have to keep questioning you like this.
No, it's all right. I'm all right. Anyway, I said to this Major Hawkins, I said, is there going to be an inquiry about this? I says, because I'm going to get my own doctor. I said, I knew what had happened, all right, and I was going to tell the whole world about it.
Just a moment, I must explain this point. Now, when a post-mortem is carried out, the next of kin has a right to retain a pathologist of its own, who may be there at the examination and produce his own report. So the coroner's office would inform the next of kin when a post-mortem and where a post-mortem was to be carried out.
Obliged to your lordship. So, Mr. Timmins, you say you told the Major Hawkins of your intentions.
Aye, and he said that he would keep me informed.
Yes, and were you subsequently visited by the coroner's officer?
Aye, about 10:30 that morning. And he didn't tell me when the post-mortem was going to be held. And in fact, it was going on at that very minute. They were keeping it quiet, trying to rush it through, hush it up, because they knew, what had happened.
Mr. Timmins, what you are saying now can only conceivably be speculation. Will you please confine yourself to what you know?
Yes, my lord. Anyway, when we found out, my doctor, my solicitor, insisted that our, what do you call that?
Pathologist?
Aye, that our pathologist would carry out his own post-mortem, and so he did. And I took this report to the police, and it showed definitely what had happened while he was being force-fed. And that is the reason that he's there, now charged with the manslaughter of my son.
Yes, thank you, Mr.
And by
Timmins.
Christ, he's lucky it's not something worse.
Thank you, Mr. Timmins.
It's a very moving story, Mr. Timmins.
What?
A profoundly moving story. Your young son fights for his rights as a trade unionist and loses his life in conflict with the authorities in an obscure prison cell.
My lord, is this really necessary?
Yes, I sincerely hope this is going to be justified, Mr. O'Connor.
If my learned friend will be patient for one moment, he'll see that it is. Even had a martyr's funeral, I believe. 2,000 marchers in the street procession, banners, even a bagpiper. I'm going to let the whole world know just how he died, were your words, I think.
Sure. I want the truth to come out.
Indeed, and so do we all. How old was your son, Mr. Timmins?
What?
How old was your son?
19.
He was 19 when he died. Now, had he, in his short life, served 2 sentences in an approved school and 1 in Borstal for various crimes ranging from housebreaking to beating up his headmaster?
No, that's got nothing to do with
But
that.
you have told us that he was not a criminal.
Well, neither he was. I mean, that was just high spirits.
Very high, considering his headmaster had to have 12 stitches.
Ah, well, I mean, the boy did go through a wild patch, I admit that, but I mean, he turned over a new leaf. And the proof of that is all the welfare work he done with old folk and that. He ran a youth club by himself. Spent all his time trying to help people. He wasn't a criminal, he was a wonderful boy.
Is he your only son, Mr. Timmins?
Yes.
And now he is dead, you're seeking to idealise him. You want to turn him into an important figure, the innocent martyr, and that is why you wanted these proceedings brought.
That's a lot of rubbish, that.
But you did send your own pathologist report to the police, did you not?
Sure I
To
did.
try to get them to institute these proceedings.
But I'd every right to do
And
that.
you are contracted, after this trial, to write 3 articles for the Sunday Sketch. My son's secret death, according to the advance publicity.
Yeah, but I told you, I want the truth to come out.
Exactly. Hence my question. So let us turn to another matter. On August the 6th, when force feeding had begun, you say that your son was clear-headed and rational.
I so he was.
Really, Mr. Timmins? He was literally on his deathbed. No food had passed his lips for weeks, for 5 full weeks, and he was entirely rational.
He was. He said...
Oh, I know what he said. We've read about it all in the newspapers, Mr. Timmins. I'm willing to die for the cause of freedom and so on.
Well, that's what he said.
Yes, well, you will hear medical evidence to say that at the time he was delirious.
No, he wasn't.
You realise why the mental condition that he was in at the time force feeding took place is critical to this case, don't you?
No.
No? You're unaware, then, that under the new Home Office guidelines, force feeding is only permissible where the prisoner is clearly irrational and not in command of himself.
I don't know about that.
You've no idea?
No.
Exhibit 4, please. Thank you. Did you not write this article, Mr. Timmins? It's the Fulchester Gazette, July the 18th. My Son's Prison Ordeal by Daniel Timmins.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, well, in paragraph 8, is there not a clear summary of the new Home Office guidelines about force feeding, emphasising the very point that I have just made?
Oh, but this article was ghostwritten.
Yes, but you must have read it.
No. I just gave them the facts.
Later, you must have read it.
Well, maybe I skimmed it, but I never actually read it.
I'm sorry, Mr. Timmins. But you've not read an article like this one, published under your name, about your own son's approaching death?
No, I couldn't bear to read anything about my own son's approaching
No, you'd
death.
rather profit from it. Well, this matter of the doctor's alleged statement. I'm going to make damn sure you don't turn yourself into a martyr. You write about that in your article too, you know.
A clear threat to force feed him.
So you say.
Well, what else could it have been?
Suppose that the doctor had decided he was not dealing with a wild, young idealist and martyr, but a silly, immature, emotionally unstable adolescent who might grow up in time.
What?
Well, does not then the statement take on a totally different
Look,
complexion?
it was a clear threat. He was threatening him.
Did he read books? Your son?
Yes.
What kind of books?
Well, political mostly.
Oh, yes, he had considerable political aspirations, did he not?
He would have been an MP by the time he was 30.
Well, I want you to look at this passage in this book which I've just marked, please, and read it aloud.
What is it?
Never mind that for the present, just read it out.
I am willing to die for the cause of freedom. So my
life may help pave the way to a better understanding. I want others to live in peace and love. That is from the Ragged-Trousered Philanthropist, The Death of the Hero, page 486.
well,
Interesting, don't you think?
I mean, maybe he was quoting for it and I just didn't realise.
Perhaps he was. Or perhaps you made the whole thing up, Mr. Timmins. Or perhaps he was delirious at the time, and that is what you would like him to have said.
No, it was...
You are Dr. Walpole Ramler, and you're a consultant pathologist at St. Rocco's Hospital, Dundee.
Yes.
What are your qualifications, Doctor?
MBBS from London University, member of the Royal College of Physicians, fellow of the Royal College of Pathologists.
Yes, for whom do you normally carry out post-mortems?
I'm asked by the hospitals, of course, but also by the police, the Home Office, and all the authorities. In the last 15 years, I've carried out several thousand post-mortems.
Were you privately retained to examine the body of David Timmins earlier this year in Fulchester?
Yes.
Yes, and what date was that?
May I consult my notes, my lord?
Certainly, Dr. Ramler.
August the 10th, 2:30.
Yes, and where did it take place?
At the city mortuary, I was accompanied by a coroner's officer.
Yes.
4 days after death.
Yes, my lord, there were 2 post-mortems in this body. The first one, the official one, on August 7th by the Fulchester pathologist. The second one, a private one by Dr. Ramler, on August 10th.
I see.
Now, will you please tell the jury what you found?
I was asked to examine the stomach wall. It was perforated in 2 places in a manner consistent with the forcible use of the stomach tube. I was asked to examine the bronchial tubes. They contained matter usually associated with the early stages of pneumonia, but also a quantity of food.
Now, how did that get there?
In my opinion, only by forcible feeding.
Yes. Could you explain that for us?
In forcible feeding, the feeding tube is passed through the nose along the back of the throat towards the stomach. If the job is bungled, then food enters the bronchial tubes and trachea instead, and the patient chokes. This can be extremely dangerous. 4 central teeth in front of the lower jaw were also missing, and there was considerable bruising around the mouth and along the lower half of the face. There was a deep cut here, and this would be consistent with rough handling while the patient was being forcibly fed.
Now, if a prisoner does begin to choke dangerously whilst being forcibly fed, would prompt action by the doctor save him?
Oh, yes.
Yes. And tell us, Dr. Ramler, what were your final conclusions?
Although the body was in emaciated condition, I believe the cause of death was asphyxia due to liquid food entering the trachea and lungs. Contributory factors may also have included exhaustion through choking and the rough manner in which the patient appears to have been handled before his death.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Ramler.
Those are very remarkable conclusions, Dr. Ramler.
They are my conclusions.
Most remarkable. You're so certain about them. For instance, these perforations of the stomach wall.
Yes,
You go out of your way to suggest the cause,
if you like.
although you can have no possible first-hand knowledge of this.
But what else could it have been?
So I'll come to that. First, would you have a look at this tube? Exhibit 5, please. You will note that it is extremely soft and supple. I doubt if it would penetrate so much as a sheet of tissue paper.
But this was not the tube used.
How can you possibly say that?
Well, it's not strong enough to perforate the stomach wall.
Exactly. Your report jumps to conclusions that cannot possibly be justified by the evidence, and this is an example of it. Prosecution and defence are agreed that that is the actual tube used.
I'm sorry, you don't understand. I was asked to see if the markings or perforations in the stomach wall could have been caused by a feeding tube.
Oh, I see. Your conclusions were suggested to you.
The objects of my examination were defined.
Yes, but your brief, shall we call it, made certain suggestions, and you were asked to look for evidence to support them.
If you like.
It's very interesting. Is that brief contained in a letter?
It was a verbal agreement.
Face to face?
On the telephone.
Made with who?
With Mr. Timmins, the solicitor.
Wrote it down?
I jotted down the main points.
Do you still have the notes?
I'm afraid I don't.
What a pity.
But I do remember them.
Oh, so you can tell us if you were specifically asked to look for any signs of food in the trachea,
Oh, yes.
or any signs of rough handling.
Yes.
So your examination could hardly be called objective.
But the examination was objective.
Yes, but how could it possibly be so if your conclusions were suggested to you at the very time when your fee was negotiated?
I think you might wish to rephrase that question, Mr. O'Connor.
There is no need, my lord, as there was no fee.
What?
I charged no fee.
Expenses, then.
No expenses.
You travelled all the way down from Dundee to carry out this post-mortem, and you didn't charge so much as your train fare?
That is correct.
Why?
I'd read about the case in the newspapers.
What did you read, Dr. Ramler?
About the next of kin being excluded from the official post-mortem, and that seemed to me very bad.
So you felt very strongly about this case?
Yes, that is correct.
And I put it to you again that your report is a deeply biased document.
No.
Well, I think the jury will make up their own minds on that point. Now, how many days after death did you examine the body?
4 days.
Yes, isn't that an excessive delay?
It's quite adequate.
And what was the condition of the body?
Fair.
And, of course, one post-mortem had already taken place.
That is so.
4 days, and after the first post-mortem had already taken place, you can be as positive as this?
Certainly.
Would it surprise you if the evidence of the pathologist who took the first official post-mortem, when given to this court, entirely contradicts your own findings?
I'm quite certain of my own findings.
So have you ever in your life carried out a supplementary post-mortem like this one before?
No.
It's almost unheard of, isn't it?
Well, it is due to the fact that the first
Oh,
post-mortem...
yes, that's all been explained. Thank you very much, Dr. Ramler. But could some of the things that you mention in your report, in fact, have been caused as a result of the first official post-mortem?
I don't know what you mean.
Well, could the perforations of the stomach wall?
Oh, I see. No, not possible, because the perforations are not consistent with the use of a metal blade.
Now, tell me, when you examined the bronchi and lungs, had they already been laid open at the official post-mortem?
Yes.
Yes, and not only laid open, but separated.
That is so.
I put it to you, Doctor, is it not extremely likely that these traces of food were accidentally transferred from the areas of the stomach to the lungs and so on at the conclusion of the first official post-mortem?
No, I do not think so.
Why not?
It just did not have that appearance.
How enviously certain you can be about everything, Dr. Ramler. Tell me, are you always as positive as this in your private appearances in court?
I beg your pardon?
Well, in the last 5 years, you have appeared as an independent expert witness in 13 court appearances all over the British Isles.
Yes.
Were all these appearances made without fee?
Yes,
Without fee or expenses of any kind?
that is correct.
And is there not a curious consistency about these cases in which you appear privately?
I don't know what you mean.
In all 13 cases, the evidence that you presented was heavily embarrassing to the police. Isn't that so?
Maybe so.
Maybe so, is so, Dr. Ramler. In this case, it is alleged that the coroner's office, that is, the police, omitted to inform the next of kin of a post-mortem. You have told us that you read about it in the newspaper.
Yes, that's correct.
Did you then telephone Mr. Timmins, having traced his name through the phone book, and offer your services free of charge?
My findings are scientific. I mean...
Did you telephone Mr. Timmins and offer your services free?
But don't you see there can be room for
Dr.
misunderstanding?
Dr. Ramler, I direct that you answer that question.
Yes.
Now, Mr. O'Connor, I think this would be a convenient time to adjourn.
All stand.
The jury in this case is comprised of members of the general public. The case of the Queen against Mackenzie will be resumed tomorrow in the Crown Court. As a result of his activities in a strike picket line this summer, 19-year-old David Timmins was sentenced to 6 months' imprisonment for assault. In Fulchester Prison, he went on hunger strike and later died shortly after being artificially fed. Dr. Mackenzie, the young prison medical officer, is charged with his manslaughter, due, it is claimed, to his gross negligence in carrying out forced feeding. Now in the witness box is Dr. Ramler, a pathologist.
Now, let us get this quite clear, Doctor. It turns out that you read about this case in the newspaper. You telephoned to Mr. Timmins and you offered your services free of charge. You travel over 200 miles from Dundee to carry out an additional post-mortem and produced a report grossly hostile to the official one and by implication hostile to the police. And you charge no fee or expenses whatsoever.
But I don't think that's quite relevant.
Answer the question, is that correct or no?
It is impossible to answer such a question
That
yes
is
or
no answer, Dr.
My
Ramler.
Lord, this witness is being bullied.
Yes, I really think you might allow the witness to reply in his own way, Mr. O'Connor.
Your Lordship pleases.
I mean, when I read about cases such as this, of course my sympathies are aroused. But my examination is impartial and scientific. It would be of no use if it were not.
Yes, but these other 13 cases in which you offered your services
Yes, and
free...
you said they're critical of the police. I honestly was not aware of it.
You've no idea of it?
No. In each of those cases, it seemed to me that either the defendant or their next of kin needed outside help, and that is what I offered.
Do you feel any resentment or hostility towards the police in general?
No.
Have you or any close relative been in any trouble with the police?
No.
You quite certain of that, Dr. Ramler?
I'm quite certain of that.
Thank you.
Do you wish to re-examine Mr. Parsons?
Only briefly, my lord. Dr. Ramler, as well as the qualifications you mentioned to us earlier, have you ever received an honour or award?
Oh, yes. The MBE last year.
And what was that for?
The newspapers said it was for 15 years as a senior pathologist.
I believe they actually put it 15 years devoted and impeccable service to the community. Is it true that you never accept a fee in needy cases?
Yes, it's quite true.
Thank you, Doctor.
I call the defendant, James Conan MacKenzie.
What is your religion?
The Presbyterian Church of Scotland.
Take the book on your right hand and read aloud the words written on the card.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
You are Dr. James Conan MacKenzie, MBBS, MRCP, and you reside at 31A Green Market, Fulchester.
That's right.
What is your present position?
I'm medical officer of Fulchester Prison.
For how long have you held that position?
A year.
Now let us get one thing absolutely clear at the outset. How many times did you artificially feed the prisoner, David Timmins?
Twice.
On either of those occasions, did anything whatever go wrong?
Nothing.
Now, is there the slightest question in your mind about whether the food might have entered the windpipe instead of the gullet, that the feeding tube might have punctured the stomach wall?
Both suggestions are idiotic.
Thank you. Now, would you please describe to the jury the process of artificial feeding as it is now practiced?
There are two methods, intravenously and by tube. The first method is used if the patient is unconscious, and as you are feeding directly into a vein, what you can give them is rather limited. The other method is by soft tube directly into the stomach, that tube. In this way, you can give them anything liquid, soup, eggs, milk.
Both methods are painless
Completely.
and simple.
Very simple.
Yes, are you aware of the Home Secretary's recent statement in the House of Commons suggesting certain guidelines to be followed in future about when compulsory feeding is justified?
Of course I am.
Would you describe those to the jury too, please?
There used to be a tradition that you should not let a prisoner starve himself to death. That no longer holds. If a man goes on hunger strike now, you must first satisfy yourself that he is capable of rational decision. If he is, you explain to him the inevitable consequences of starving, you tell him that nobody has to force feed him anymore, and then you leave him to get on with it. If, however, at any time subsequently he loses this ability to judge for himself, then the judgment must be the doctor's.
Did you examine David Timmins when he first entered prison?
On July 1st.
What was his condition then?
A1.
When did you see him next?
About 6 days later. I had a note from the governor asking me to visit him. I went along to his cell. I remember he was lying on the bed and he grinned at me as I came in the door. I examined him and found him to be suffering from malnutrition. He told me he'd not eaten or drunk for 6 days.
Did he say why?
He said he was on hunger strike because he was a political prisoner and didn't intend to be treated like a common criminal. I told him not to be so damned stupid.
What was his reaction to that?
Oh, he laughed.
Now, did you form any judgments as to his general condition on that day?
He was weak, but otherwise in satisfactory condition. He was coming to the end of the first week of total fast, when the pain of hunger actually disappears. Mentally, he was lucid and rational, but acting the part, I thought.
What do you mean?
Well, he asked me if I would telephone the newspapers and tell them what he was doing.
Now, there was no question of artificially feeding him at this stage.
No.
What happened thereafter?
I visited him daily. At this time, he was taking water, but still refusing food. At the end of the first fortnight, he was weak, so I had him removed to the prison hospital. And by week 3, he was very feeble and becoming mentally obsessive.
Obsessive?
People who go without food for any great length of time become extraordinarily obsessive about the righteousness of their cause. David would sit on his bed, hunched up, with his chin on his knees, motionless. If he spoke at all, he would speak from that position without moving. People in such a state brood obsessively, and the slightest suggestion that they may not be 100% right can throw them into wild and irrational rages.
Did you discuss the reasons for his hunger strike with him?
Yes, every day. He wasn't going to get away with it.
You got to know him well?
Very well.
What did you think of him?
In some ways, he was immature. In others, very admirable. He'd spent every moment of his spare time working for good causes. And to be quite frank, it was difficult to argue with many of his criticisms of society. But he would strike some extraordinarily childish attitudes, like this hunger strike business.
Now, did you at any stage say to him, "I'm going to make damn sure you don't make a martyr of yourself"?
Quite possibly.
What did you mean?
I meant that I intended to persuade him, by argument, not to throw his life away needlessly.
It was not a threat to force feed?
No.
When did you first force feed him, in fact?
On the morning of August the 6th.
And that was the day that he actually died.
As it turned out. I went to visit him, as usual, at about 8 a.m., and I noticed the first symptoms of some infection or fever.
Dr. Mackenzie, what significance has that?
Well, people don't actually die of starvation, but of any bug they may pick up when their bodies are too weak to resist anymore. So I realized that that was going to be the critical day.
What did you do?
I decided to have one last attempt to make him see reason. I put my arguments to him forcefully. During the course of this, I must have said something which enraged him in the way I described just now, because he flew into a violent, wild rage. He half lifted himself off the bed and he threw himself at me. He was almost foaming at the mouth. I half caught him, but he crashed his face against the iron frame of the bed. That's how he sustained most of the injuries which some people have been making such a song and dance about at this trial.
It's the lost teeth, the cut mouth, and so on.
That's right.
So what happened then?
I decided that he was irrational and that I would be obliged to force feed him. I fed him once then before his father's visit, and again that evening at 10 p.m.
With what effect?
None. The infection soon manifested itself as pneumonia, which, in my opinion, was the actual cause of death. It took hold with extraordinary speed, and in spite of every medical step which I took, he died as I was holding him at 10:40 p.m.
How long had the second force feeding taken?
Perhaps 10 minutes.
So he died 30 minutes after it had been concluded.
That's right.
Now, had he at any stage during that second force feeding choked?
No.
Did you administer the feeding by yourself?
Yes.
On both occasions?
Yes.
Wasn't that irregular?
I'm perfectly capable.
I didn't suggest otherwise, Doctor.
Good.
Did he resist?
Hardly at all.
So you did not have to use force?
Not in the least.
What did you do immediately after his death?
I informed the prison officer on duty what had happened. I telephoned the coroner's office and the Home Office to set that in motion. I went to my office and wrote out my report, typed it, had it signed, witnessed, and delivered to the governor's office by 2 a.m. And then I went home and cried like a child.
Be lawyers.
If I may say so, Dr. Mackenzie, you have an extraordinary high opinion of your own abilities.
I think I know my job.
Yes, so it appears. That is surely an equivocal characteristic of one so young.
Is that a question?
No, an observation.
Do you expect me to comment?
Yes, thank you. You were very inexperienced at the time there, weren't you?
That has nothing to do with it.
Answer the question.
I know doctors of 50 years' experience who are absolute fools.
Ability is what counts.
Of course.
Of which you have your fair share.
I know what I'm doing.
Well, we shall see about that. How long had you been a prison medical officer when this happened?
4 months.
And how long a qualified doctor?
3 years.
And you've never in your life force-fed a prisoner before?
No.
Nor even witnessed one?
No.
And yet you carried out this force-feeding entirely by yourself, without even calling for advice, let alone assistance.
I didn't need any.
Surely in the circumstances it would have been far wiser to have others present, even just as witnesses.
I didn't need witnesses.
You preferred not to have a witness.
That's a stupid distortion of my answer.
But without witnesses, how can we possibly accept, in view of the many doubts surrounding this case, and in view of Dr. Ramler's findings, that nothing went wrong?
Simply because I assert it.
Well, we should just take your word for it.
That's right.
Well, that's a great comfort. But you see, even when pneumonia had manifested itself, you still called no one else in.
Why should I?
Because, Doctor, this young man was dying, and you were obliged to do everything humanly possible to save him.
I was doing everything possible. In such cases, you have to act quickly.
Oh, quickly?
Yes, when pneumonia sets in.
Panic?
What?
Did you panic, Doctor? You suddenly saw the end in sight? You knew you should have acted before.
Quite untrue.
Suddenly, I suggest, you panicked. You force-fed in a state of panic and bungled it, and that is why you called no one else in. Isn't that so?
Poppycock.
So it wasn't bungled?
Of course it wasn't bungled.
Then how on earth do you account for the traces of liquid food found by Dr. Ramler in the trachea and bronchi?
Either Ramler is incompetent, or the food was transferred there during the first post-mortem. The body gets very cut about during a PM.
Well, yes, we'll ask the official pathologist about that.
Yes, I should.
Yes, I will.
Good.
Now, let us turn to another extraordinary irregularity in your handling of this case. You told my learned friend you had not force-fed David Timmins into the day of his death, because up until then he had appeared perfectly rational.
Capable of rational decision, yes.
Yes. Now, will you please explain again to the jury the reasons for this?
I was following the Roy Jenkins guidelines.
Yes, you were following the Roy Jenkins guidelines. Now, I wonder if you would look at this document. Thank you. It is a copy of the Home Secretary's statement, Exhibit 6, my lord. The jury have copies, I believe.
Thank you.
Now, you see, Dr. Mackenzie, that in addition to the point you have just mentioned, the guidelines say that if the medical officer decides not to force feed because, in his opinion, the prisoner is capable of rational judgment, he should call in an outside consultant to confirm his finding.
That's right.
You didn't do that.
It wasn't necessary.
Not necessary.
Sheer window dressing.
I see, so you're prepared to follow only the parts of this document that you agree with.
Look, David Timmins was perfectly rational. I don't see why I should waste a consultant's time and the taxpayers' money merely to satisfy the tender conscience of a professional politician. He was as sane as you or I.
So you don't agree with these guidelines?
They exist.
Well, do you agree with them?
Look, every case is unique. You cannot possibly lay down in advance a blanket formula which
So
covers
you
every
don't agree with
contingency,
them?
not as they stand.
No, you must exercise your own judgment.
Of course you must.
Even to breaking rules?
These are not rules.
Yes, but you depart from them at your peril. Your departures seem eccentric, to say the least of it. For instance, I have here copies of your report to the prison governor on David Timmins' condition. Exhibit 7, my lord, they are agreed documents. Now, on July the 17th, you report, Timmins' condition is weak and he can no longer sustain a conversation. July the 22nd. Timmins is lucid only for 10 minutes at a time, and he continues to make as much trouble for me as possible.
That's right.
Well, it doesn't seem to me like someone capable of rational judgment.
Those are comments on his ability to communicate, not his powers of judgment.
Really? July the 23rd, you refer to him as a hooligan. July the 25th, as a thug. Now, this was your real opinion of this man, wasn't it? And all you told us about being impressed by him and him doing good for charity was all nonsense, wasn't it? Window dressing, to use your own term. You would have been perfectly justified in force-feeding him before July the 25th. And indeed, you should have done so.
Twaddle.
But for one thing, you were determined to teach this young lad a lesson. And therefore, you were determined that he was going to break his fast himself. That is why you didn't force-feed. And that is why you didn't call in a consultant or any outside help whatsoever.
No.
And that's the crux of this whole case. Far from admiring this young idealist, as you put it, you regarded him as a young thug who had to be broken, whom, with your beliefs, it was even your duty to break.
My lord, my learned friend is making vague reference to my client's beliefs, but he has done nothing that I am aware of to adduce what he thinks these might be.
Mr. Parsons?
I was coming to it, my lord.
Well, kindly do not come before your horse to market.
My lord. Tell me, Dr. Mackenzie, would you describe yourself as insecure?
What on earth do you mean?
Well, I mean, you're not married, you're very young. It wouldn't be surprising if you were sometimes afraid of the prisoners.
Afraid of them?
I would like to read to you from an article in the Fulton Gazette of July the 25th.
Is that evidence?
If that question is addressed to me, sir, then my reply is that learned counsel must have had a very good reason for it.
And on July the 25th, the almost daily article was about you yourself. I think I have the wrong paper there. Could I have this one? July the 25th. Thank you. And the paper says, young Dr. Mackenzie is dictatorial, overbearing, and much disliked by the prisoners. He has a reputation of being hot-tempered, and on one occasion at least is reputed to have struck a prisoner who swore at him.
That's right. I read that.
Extremely damaging at a time like this, wouldn't you say?
Beneath contempt.
Well, did you take any action about it?
I wouldn't waste my time.
It wouldn't have been far wiser at least to have written to the editor to deny it.
I wouldn't dignify that muck sheet with a letter.
Well, let's read you something else. On July the 27th, the writer of these articles said you had been, when a medical student at St. Fawkes, secretary of the Friday Club there.
That's correct.
An extreme right-wing organization, he writes. And in an article you wrote at that time, he quoted you as saying, the irresponsible striker is a voracious cancer in our society which must be ruthlessly eliminated.
Hardly original.
But your own view.
At the time.
And now?
You mean today?
I mean when David Timmins was dying whilst under your care, Doctor.
My views have changed. He was changing them even then. You see, I had
In what way was he changing?
Look, let me finish, will you? I'd never actually met anyone like him before. He didn't convert me, but he made me think again.
Well, a very convenient 11th hour
Look, I don't
reconsideration.
find this easy to talk about.
What a pity no one was there to witness it, don't you think? Now, you say you had daily discussions with him about the reasons for his hunger strike.
Yes.
Is that really your job?
I was prevented from treating him medically.
Yes, but you said that after the first week he had become obsessive and incapable of discussion.
Well, yes.
Yeah, so for 4 out of the 5 weeks of these discussions, so as you call them, it was all quite pointless.
I wouldn't describe them so.
Are you sure they weren't simply harangues?
What do you mean?
It strikes me you're not very patient with those you don't agree with.
Perhaps I just don't suffer fools gladly, Mr. Parsons.
David Timmins was a fool.
Only in some respects.
Come now, Doctor, I put it to you, it was you who could not bear to be cross, not David Timmins. You determined to break him, and therefore you withheld force-feeding when any other medical advisor would have deemed it necessary. And in this, you were grossly negligent.
No.
One other matter. You have, of course, read the report of the official pathologist, Dr. Lumet, on his post-mortem.
Yes.
He carried it out remarkably quickly, didn't he?
I believe so.
10 o'clock the next morning, less than 12 hours after the death. Almost before anyone had a chance to turn round, so to speak. And an extremely thorough post-mortem. So much so it has been suggested a supplementary post-mortem was in fact impossible. What time did you inform the coroner's office of the death?
About 1 a.m.
How?
I left a message on the recorder phone, and I sent a letter round there by prison messenger.
And after you'd done all this?
I went home.
Really? Well, you see, I have here a copy of the log of the officer on duty at the prison that night. At 4 a.m., another prisoner was very sick, and he telephoned you. Receiving no reply, he sent a car round to your flat. The flat was empty.
Yes.
You weren't there, Dr. Mackenzie.
That's right.
So this story about going home and crying like a child was untrue.
It's perfectly true. But I went out again.
Oh, indeed. Where to?
That's irrelevant.
That is for the court to decide.
I went to see a friend, an old friend. I desperately needed someone to talk to.
What friend was this? Male or female?
My lord, I can see that it will serve the court no useful purpose to know this person's name. In fact, it may seriously confuse things.
Yes, I think we must hear it now.
But the name, Dr. Mackenzie.
At just before 4 a.m., I went to see an old and good friend called Jim Lumet.
Lumet? Dr. Lumet, the official pathologist? Who was to carry out this post-mortem some 5 hours later?
Yes.
The jury in this case is comprised of members of the general public. The case of the Queen against Mackenzie will be concluded tomorrow in the Crown Court. As a result of his activities in a strike picket line this summer, 19-year-old David Timmins was sentenced to 6 months for assault. In Fulchester Prison, he went on hunger strike and later died shortly after being artificially fed. The young prison medical officer is charged with his manslaughter, due, it's claimed, to his incompetence in carrying out the forced feeding. Counsel for the prosecution has just discovered that in the middle of the night following David Timmins' death, Dr. Mackenzie visited the official pathologist at his private residence.
Yes.
At 4 a.m., you went to the private residence of Dr. Lumet and woke him to discuss this matter, knowing that later the same day he was going to carry out the post-mortem in David Timmins' body.
I realize how bad it sounds.
That, Doctor, is extraordinary. How well do you know Dr. Lumet?
He's a friend.
He must be a very particular one.
He's a good friend. That's why I was reluctant to give his name to the court.
Yes, well, I can assure you that attempting to conceal it...
I was not attempting to conceal
Attempting to conceal it can only go against you. How well do you know it? How long have you known Dr. Lumet?
About 6 years.
Before you came to Fulchester?
That's right.
Is he a married man?
He's a bachelor.
You also, I believe, are unmarried.
Now you are dragging in red herrings.
No. Answer the question. Are you married?
I am unmarried.
What form, pray, did this nocturnal visit take?
I told Dr. Lumet what had happened, and my deep distress and concern at the
Distress
fact
at
that
what?
That for 5 weeks I had had to watch a young patient slowly die, that I had been legally unable to prevent it, though every ounce of me cried out to stop it, which I could easily have done. I doubt if you have any conception what it's like to be a man's sole lifeline, and yet have to sit impotently by and watch him waste away. I felt my responsibility as this man's doctor profoundly.
But why go to Dr. Lumet of all people?
That, I admit, was the stupidest thing in the whole stupid business. I went to him as my closest friend, and the fact that he was the official pathologist and would very likely be carrying out the post-mortem later that day never crossed my mind. It wasn't even mentioned.
And you expect us to believe?
Look, I don't expect you to believe anything. It was a silly, stupid mistake. But I ask the jury to understand that it was spontaneous and thoughtless, that I was going out of my mind. I had to speak to someone. And I went to Dr. Lumet as my oldest and best friend. And the notion that some prosecuting counsel would one day perform somersaults in an attempt to put a sinister interpretation on it never entered my head.
This is another matter where you would just ask us to accept your word for it.
I suppose so.
Well, would you accept at least that this action was irresponsible?
Yes.
Yet another example of your determination to go your own way without any thought for others whatever. I put it to you that you set out to crack David Timmins for reasons quite other than medical ones. You deliberately, maliciously, and irresponsibly decided to withhold force feeding in order to make him capitulate. When he developed pneumonia, you panicked. You realized the position you had put yourself into. You panicked. You force-fed in a state of panic without assistance. You bungled it, and you killed him. You were guilty of gross negligence during the 5 weeks of his hunger strike and during the last day of this unfortunate boy's life. And finally, you made a secret visit to the official pathologist in the middle of the night. A visit you have tried to conceal from this court in a desperate attempt somehow to cover up the evidence of your gross and criminal neglect.
Every single thing you suggest is untrue.
Well, I'm sure the jury will have its own thoughts on that. No further questions.
Thank you. You may return to the dock.
You are Dr. James Whistler Lumet, and you are the senior official pathologist of the city of Fulchester.
Yes.
Did you, on August the 7th of this year, perform a post-mortem examination on the body of David Timmins, aged 19?
Yes.
Exhibit 8, please. Is this a copy of your report?
Yes, it is.
Now, how many pages are there?
36. I was aware of the possible trouble over this case, so I made a particularly exhaustive and careful examination.
What, in your opinion, was the cause of death?
Pneumonia, brought on by malnutrition.
Did you examine the bronchial tubes?
Yes, they were slightly congested, but there was no trace of foreign matter in them whatsoever.
Did you examine the stomach wall?
I did.
Was it perforated?
Absolutely not.
Now, is it possible that in the course of your examination, matter became transferred from the stomach to the bronchi, and that perforations were accidentally made by you in the wall of the stomach?
It's possible. I had, of course, no idea that a second PM was to follow. Yes, it's perfectly possible.
Now, would you tell the court what was discussed between you and Dr. Mackenzie at at 4 a.m. on August the 7th.
Well, he was in a terrible state. He had had to sit and just watch this lad die when he could have prevented it.
But why come to you?
I think he regarded me as a good friend. His confidence had been badly shattered, and he desperately needed to sort out his thoughts. He talked for 2 hours without stopping. I just made coffee and listened.
Now, did he at any stage suggest or imply anything to you about tampering with the evidence?
Good God, no.
Thank you, Dr. Lumit.
Dr. Lumit, there were then no complications in this case?
No.
Then why a report 36 pages long?
I've already said I wanted to be sure there were no loopholes.
Through which your friend Dr. Mackenzie might be attacked?
Loopholes of logic, loopholes of pathology.
Now, would you please look at this document, Dr. Lumit? Is that not a copy of your report on your post-mortem on an old woman called Elizabeth Huffins, who died the same week?
That is correct.
What was the cause of her death?
Malnutrition brought on by self-neglect.
And how long is that report?
4 pages.
Mm-hmm. I see you did not bother to examine her stomach wall, or bronchi especially.
Well, in her case, there was no suggestion of malpractice.
Malpractice? Yes. Then your examination of Timmins' body was not objective, but made in the light of any accusations that might be made against your friend Dr. Mackenzie.
The newspapers had been full of this case for weeks. There was a stink on. It could develop into a bigger stink. I was particularly careful.
Yes, you were in no way influenced by your friend's secret and nocturnal visit just after David Timmins' death.
There was nothing secret about it.
But there were other people present?
No.
You told other people then?
No.
Well, then it was secret.
But the way you put it...
Yes?
You made it sound furtive.
But in view of the stink, as you put it, and the possible charges which might be brought against your friend, would it not have been wiser to have had him sign a statement about his visit? Then there could be no doubt at all about his motives for it.
Well, it might have been, but...
But, Doctor?
Well, it would have been carrying things a bit far, wouldn't it?
Would it? Tell me, is this your signature? Would you give this to the witness, please? Is that a letter bearing your signature, which you sent to the coroner?
Yes.
Yes. Dated 4 years ago, stating that in the case of a woman run down by a lorry, the driver had been to you privately in an attempt to discuss the matter before you made out your report on your post-mortem on the body. Would you read the last sentence, please?
I think it best to place his visit on record, should the matter be raised in subsequent proceedings.
I take it that the lorry driver was not a close friend of yours?
No.
Indeed, no. But I suggest you did discuss the implications of Timmins' death with your friend, Dr. Mackenzie, that your examination was carried out in a defensive spirit, therefore, to answer any charges which might subsequently be brought against him, and it is therefore biased and prejudiced, and can in no circumstances be a guide to the true causes of David Timmins' death.
It was a reliable report on an examination carried out before a witness.
A witness? What witness?
The coroner's officer.
Yes, but there was no medical experience whatever.
Well, he has attended
But
some
has he any medical qualifications at all?
No.
Yeah, so for all his medical knowledge affects this court, you might as well have been working alone.
I suppose so.
Thank you.
Sergeant Selwyn Edwards, C Division, Fulchester Constabulary, my lord.
Sergeant Edwards, in addition to your normal police duties, are you also coroner's officer?
Yes, sir, I am.
For how long have you held that position?
Well, about 9 years, sir.
Does this entail attendance at post-mortem examinations?
Yes, it does, sir.
How many have you attended?
Oh, Oh, hundreds, sir. Maybe thousands, sir.
What is your function there?
Well, first, sir, I identify the body.
You ensure that the pathologist is examining the correct body.
Yes, that is right, sir. Then I take charge of and see if any samples he may wish to produce in court, and generally make sure everything, well, is according to the books.
Were you present at both post-mortems on the body of David Timmins?
Yes, I was, sir.
Was the first examination a thorough one?
Oh, yes, sir. It was very, very thorough indeed, sir.
Now, when it was finished, was the body in a suitable state to undergo a further examination by a different pathologist?
My Lord, I thought we'd dealt with this. This witness has no qualifications at all to answer such a question.
Yes, but, my Lord, he is a very experienced coroner's officer.
But, my Lord, no matter how experienced he is, he can only answer questions in normal practice, not in exceptional circumstances.
I was about to say, my Lord, before my learned friend's enthusiasm ran away with him, that he is a very experienced officer and he has witnessed many hundreds of post-mortems. Surely that should qualify him to make a general comment on the condition of the body.
My learned friend is asking for much more than a general comment. He is asking this witness whether the condition of the body some 4 days after death was such as to obtain reliable results to specific pathological tests and observations. Now, this, I submit, is a technical matter quite outside his province.
Yes, I think I must agree with you, Mr. Parsons.
But, my Lord, the effect of that will be to admit the report of Dr. Ramler.
No, it would merely mean that this witness was not qualified to challenge its reliability. That and no more.
Yes, well, with respect,
You
my
may
Lord,
refer
I should
to
point
it in
out-
your closing speech if you wish, Mr. O'Connor. Now, please, let's get on with it.
Your Lordship pleases. One other matter, Sergeant. Did you, as coroner's officer, inform the father of the deceased as to the time and place of the post-mortem and of his right to send a qualified representative?
Yes, I did, sir.
Did you log the occasion?
Yes, I did, sir. It was at 11:10 on the morning of August 7th. That is the day after the boy died. I went to 41 Holywell Crescent, saw Mr. Timmins, and so informed him, sir.
How did he seem?
Well, sir, he seemed very upset, but he understood, all right.
He understood?
Oh, yes, sir, quite definitely, sir. Well, he looked at me and he nodded. But in any case, sir, I left a little card which gave the information as well, sir. I left it on the table.
So why did you do that?
Oh, well, sir, sometimes the next of kin are so upset they don't really know what you're saying to them. So to make it absolutely clear, I always leave a little card, sir, which says more or less the same thing.
But he understood anyhow.
Oh, quite definitely, sir, yes.
Was anyone else present?
No, sir, we were alone. Mr. Timmins is a widower, I believe, sir.
My Lord, I really fail to see the relevance of all this.
Yes, I must confess to feeling a little left behind myself, Mr. Parsons.
My Lord, I wish to show that the deceased father was officially informed of the post-mortem, but chose to ignore it.
And how does that affect the charge of manslaughter against Dr. Mackenzie?
Well, it would underline the fact that the prosecution has been initiated by Mr. Timmins for ulterior motives. His reasons are propaganda outside this court. He has a pecuniary interest in putting the actions of the authorities in the worst possible light.
Your purpose is to throw doubt upon the reliability of Mr. Timmins' evidence.
Exactly, my Lord.
Well, I suppose I must allow that.
Thank you.
My Lord, in that case, I hope you will consider favourably any attempt to recall Mr. Timmins to answer any points about his evidence raised at this late stage.
Dear, yes, I suppose so. Well, let's get on with it now.
Obliged, Your Lordship. Sergeant Edwards, can you remember your exact words when you told Mr. Timmins about the post-mortem?
Yes, sir. I said, I have to inform you that your son's body is to be examined at 11:30 this morning at the city mortuary, and that you have a right to send a medical representative, sir.
So any suggestion that you attempted to conceal the time and place of the post-mortem from Mr. Timmins is quite untrue.
Absolutely false, sir.
Thank you, Sergeant.
May I see your notebook, Sergeant?
Notebook, sir?
Yes, the one you've just slipped back in your pocket. May I see it, please? Thank you. Thank you. Well, I see no mention here of what you said to Mr. Timmins.
No, sir.
But a moment ago, you read to my learned friend the actual words you claim you used.
No, sir. He asked my actual wording, sir, and I told him.
You read it out.
No, sir.
You opened your notebook.
No. How could I have read out the exact wording, sir, when, well, as you say, it isn't there, sir?
How can you be so sure of what you said to him?
Because I've said it so many times, sir.
You always use the same words.
Always, sir.
It's a bit undiplomatic at times, isn't it?
Beg pardon, sir?
I mean, it's a bit blunt, isn't it? You're going into a household within a very short time of the death to tell them, not to mince matters, that the body's about to be cut up. Do they want to send someone along to watch? I mean, surely where the family is stricken with grief, you must somehow soften what you say, put your words in a less wounding, more roundabout way.
I have told you what I say, sir.
So, there's no possibility that sometimes you may fail to get across.
No possibility at all, sir.
Just trot out the same formula without treat or favour, so to speak.
Well, if you like to put it that way, sir, yes, sir.
No matter how you feel about the case.
I have no feelings about this case, sir.
Really?
None, sir.
But weren't you the officer who arrested David Timmins? Who charged him? Who brought him to trial? Who Timmins said at his trial, accused at his trial of beating him and kicking him in his cell, of planting evidence using foul language and saying he deserved everything he got?
Yes, but at the subsequent police inquiry, I was completely exonerated.
Yes, but he did make those charges.
Yes, but little pimps like... They're always making accusations like that, sir.
And you say you have no feelings about this case. I put it to you, you deliberately omitted to inform Mr. Timmins about this post-mortem so that no outside observers could be present, because, to use your own words, you believe that David Timmins deserved everything he got.
Well, that's absolutely untrue, sir.
I see. Thank you.
Now, members of the jury, my duty is to give you guidance as to the law and to assist you insofar as I am allowed so to do to reach a decision on the evidence. But you are the judges of fact. You and you alone must make up your minds on the question of guilt or innocence. Now, the accused is charged with manslaughter in that on a day or days unknown between the 1st of June and the 7th of August, he unlawfully killed David Timmins. Now, the prosecution put their case two ways. They say first that if, as was Dr. Ramler's opinion, the cause of death was asphyxia through choking, then that was caused by the gross negligence of the defendant who chose to carry out this treatment on his own. Now, if you are satisfied that this was the cause of death, and that the defendant was not merely careless or unfortunate, but grossly careless and reckless, then you would return a verdict of guilty. Second, however, the prosecution say that if you accept Dr. Lumet's opinion as to the cause of death, the defendant is then still guilty because he should have force-fed the deceased before he did, and that he deliberately abstained from so doing through improper motive. Now, I must direct you that you must be very careful before convicting on that basis. Now, learned counsel have made great play with the Home Secretary's statement in the House of Commons on July 1974, suggesting the conditions under which force-feeding may be considered necessary in the future. It was a statement intended to clear up a certain confusion on this matter which had been expressed among doctors and prison authorities recently. But I must advise you that this statement is not law. It did not give rise to a statute which is now part of the laws of England. It is only an opinion as to common law and should not be regarded as an absolute yardstick. However, it does recognize an important feature of English law, and that is that a man of sound mind may refuse medical treatment, even food and water, if he so wishes. But the corollary of that is that far from it being the duty of a doctor to interfere with his patient against his patient's express wishes, it may well be a criminal offence for a doctor to treat a patient against his express wishes, should that patient be rational. That is, for example, not mentally ill. Accordingly, only if you were of the opinion that the deceased was irrational and mentally unbalanced, and that the defendant knew this and neglected to act, could you convict on this basis. Now, let me remind you that the deceased's father claimed that his son was rational when he saw him on the day that he died. And remember that you must make a decision purely on the facts. Now, you may well think that the defendant exhibited a certain overconfidence, even arrogance, in the witness box, but that in itself should not be held against him. Only on the facts adduced by his examination and his cross-examination should you base your judgment. And let me remind you, members of the jury, that you are not here to decide whether Timmins was justified in hunger striking, still less the merits of his position. And last, let me tell you that it is, of course, the duty of the prosecution to prove their case beyond reasonable doubt. If you should have a reasonable doubt, then you must return a verdict of not guilty. Now, members of the jury, would you kindly retire to consider your verdict?
All stand.
Will the foreman please stand? Just answer this question, yes or no. Have you reached a verdict upon which you're all agreed?
Yes.
Do you find the accused guilty or not guilty of manslaughter?
Guilty.
James MacKenzie, you've been found guilty of the charge of manslaughter.
Dr. Mackenzie was given a conditional discharge. The jury in this case was comprised of members of the general public. Our cameras will return to bring you another leading case in the Crown Court.